Hey, what's good YouTube? It is your boy Fourth and Goal. We are back again with another video, man. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about a team that I really haven't talked about too much on this channel, you know, during the off-season draft and even the preseason, and that is the Pittsburgh Steelers, man. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I actually love their foundation. I love what they're doing out there. I think they have a bright future ahead of them. They never really hit the reset button fully. Mike Tomlin and his coaching staff, you know, they've done phenomenal things, but they do have some problems on that roster that needs to be addressed pretty soon if they want to take the next step forward, because I think they have an actual smaller window than people think they have. But before we get straight into that, man, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, the like button, and, you know, comment down, you know, your favorite topics or your favorite things that I need to talk about, or, you know, give me some criticism. But with all that being said, let's get straight into the video. So we are in January of 2022. The Pittsburgh Steelers just lost in embarrassing fashion to the Kansas City Chiefs 42-21 in the AFC wildcard round, and very shortly after, their longtime quarterback, future Hall of Famer Big Ben Roethlisberger, just announced his retirement. So going into the offseason, the Steelers had to scramble for a new quarterback. Some would say just trade for one. Some would say just sign one. But luckily, Kenny Pickett fell into their arms in the first round with the 20th overall pick in the 2022 NFL Draft. And to make it even better, he got his co-star receiver in George Pickens in the second round. So pretty much they addressed the quarterback situation while also adding another offensive threat in the receiver core. But there were some question marks with Kenny Pickett going to the Steelers, and one of the questions was, is he a day one starter? Because prior to the NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers did sign Mitchell Trubisky to a 2-year, $14 million deal. And the main question was, is Kenny Pickett going to be a backup for a little bit to learn behind the veteran, or is he going to just take it over day one? And they went with the first option, with just letting Mitchell Trubisky take over day one and letting Kenny Pickett learn from him, and then when his time is right, they're going to let him start. But in a Week 4 matchup versus the New York Jets, when they are down 10-6 at halftime, Mike Tomlin decided to sub out Mitchell Trubisky after a horrendous first half, and even them going 1-2, which is horrendous for him. And he throws in his rookie quarterback, Kenny Pickett, and just for a spark plug to see what the rookie can do, because they can't get no worse than what Trubisky was doing. But somehow it got worse, because Kenny Pickett will go on to throw 3 interceptions in that second half in a 4-point loss, 24-20. Yikes! 4 interceptions in his debut, and just in a second half is just not the best start for a young rookie. But after that game, they will lead on with Kenny Pickett, and he would have them go 7-5, and they just barely missed the playoffs, going 9-8. But the rest of the team, it looked really good. Again, they have really good offensive weapons, they have a really great defense, and most importantly, a really great coaching staff. Now, besides them having their demon time receiver in George Pickens, they have plenty of weapons for Kenny Pickett in the future. Obviously, having Deontay Johnson, the really underrated receiver, really shifty receiver. They have Pat Freiermuth, and they just drafted another tight end in Darnell Washington from the University of Georgia. And for extra protection, they just added a tackle from Georgia with their first round pick and Broderick Jones. So their offense, it is pretty set. And again, with Mike Tomlin's coaching and things like that, I think they can be an above average team this season offensively. Defensively, that's where their bread and butter is, having 2 superstars on their defense, one being on the D-line and the other being the secondary. With the D-line, obviously it is being TJ Watt. The main question for TJ Watt is, can he stay healthy? And when he does come back, can he be that all-pro defensive player of the year caliber player again? And obviously them having Minkah Fitzpatrick, one of the game's best safeties right now in the league. That's, you know, again, that gets very underlooked sometimes. He can lead the secondary into a very deadly group. But even when you look at their defensive supporting cast pieces, they have a really great defensive unit all around. Starting with their defensive line, they have Larry Ogunjobi, a really solid defensive end who can sometimes slide into the defensive tackle. Not really like a nose tackle, but, you know, he's a very solid piece. Cameron Haywood, obviously the veteran. He's been there for about 10 years, maybe 11 years, maybe even longer actually. He had about 10.5 sacks last year. Just a very good defensive end who can slide into the nose tackle and defensive tackle. Dude, just an all-around baller. And then them still obviously having Alex Highsmith, who just had a monster breakout year. He had about 15 sacks, 14.5. Very solid. I did have some criticism upon him when talking about him winning in like pass rush sets, but still, 15 sacks is 15 sacks. I can't really knock him. They did add some more depth into that defensive line room with them adding Marcus Gordon. Just a veteran. Nothing too crazy. Not seeing him take the field every play, but they also added Armand Watt. Just another person for depth. If someone goes down, they have those pieces, or a guy gets tired, they can throw in a guy or two, just for depth and things like that. And then they also just completely redid their whole interior linebacker room. Last year it was Devin Bush and Miles Jack. Miles Jack, he retired, and he came back, played for the Eagles, and he got cut / retired, and then they let go of Devin Bush. This year they have some really good pieces, man. Just some really good tacklers. Cole Holcomb from the Washington Commanders last year, a very solid interior Mike linebacker, and then they also added Kaiwan Alexander, the Buccaneers legend, guy with the red hair back in the day. But they signed those two guys, and then they also have Eldon Roberts. I think right now it says that he is the starter at the right side interior linebacker, but I'm sure Kaiwan, he's going to start. If not, then I'll be surprised. Maybe they see something that I don't. I don't know. But their whole interior linebacker room has just changed, and it's probably for the better. Again, Miles Jack, it seems like he didn't have passion for football anymore, and Devin Bush, he really didn't pan out to be the star interior linebacker. And then finally, their defensive back room, a really good room and things like that. Last year they did have Cameron Sutton at their starting cornerback position. He went to the Lions, I believe, and they didn't really fill that void immediately. They did draft Joey Porter Jr., and they also added some veteran leadership to help guide him, and even still Levi Wallace, them adding Patrick Peterson. Yes, just Patrick Peterson, okay? That makes them a boost. Now I'm just playing. But, yeah, they did add Patrick Peterson. I don't see him being like 2015, 16 Patrick Peterson, obviously. But it's still Patrick Peterson. These guys can still learn from him. They did add, or I think he was already there, Chedon Sullivan. Yes, Chedon Sullivan. Just a guy for depth. And then obviously at safety, they still have Minkah Fitzpatrick. They added Keanu Neal, and they also have DeMonte Casey. Keanu Neal, I think he's going to be a linebacker at times, or be a box safety if they need him down there, if a guy goes down, or if it's heavy run teams. Obviously, they got to see the Browns twice. Obviously, they still got to, deal with Nick Chubb twice a year, and that right there is a task, a very hard task. And then obviously still Lamar Jackson, and what he can do in the backfield and things like that. So I do like that move with Keanu Neal. I'm not saying he's in his prime, but him just being there is a threat. But overall, I do love this defense. I do still think that this is a top 5 unit on paper, and then coaching and things like that, top 5. At worst top 10, but with Mike Tomlin and his coaching, like, he never defensively, like, they never really fall off defensively, like, ever. And speaking of Mike Tomlin, we gotta talk about Mike Tomlin. It amazes me how somebody who's been coaching one organization for about 10 plus years, and he's had the highs of the highs, and his lowest point is just missing the playoffs by a game or two. The Pittsburgh Steelers have not been down below out the playoff because they were 4-13 or 5-11 or nothing crazy like that. The Steelers have always been in contention for a playoff spot, and I think this year they can actually win the AFC North. Two things: if they start off strong the first 4 or 5 games, depending on if Joe Burrow's out, and then secondly, how well can Kenny Pickett play. Now, I'm not saying that they have a super easy schedule, or that, Kenny Pickett is going to come out and be like Patrick Mahomes in year 2. But I do think that, if he just improves himself, they can win out a lot of these games, especially in the first couple weeks of the season. In week 1, they do play the Niners. That's going to be a very tightly contested game. I can't wait for that. But in week 2, 3, and 4, I think they can win out all 3 of those games versus the Browns, versus the Raiders and Houston Texans. But in week 5, that's when they're really going to get tested versus the Baltimore Ravens, because at that point, they're going to have a lot of reps under their belt. Kenny Pickett, if he's healthy and things like that, he's going to have a lot of reps. And in week 5 versus the Ravens, that's going to be a very, very good game. And then after that, they have a bye week versus the Rams. I think they can just beat the Rams. And then in week 8 versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, that's going to be another tightly contested game where they get tested by a really good top 5 team in the AFC and the Jaguars. But I'm sort of thinking too fast. Let's about the season. That's for my prediction videos and things like that. But I think they need to capitalize off of Najee Harris's potential immediately. At the same time, cap off of what Kenny Pickett can do. They're doing the classic formula of, okay, we have a young cheap quarterback right now. He's not on a super mega deal. Let's surround him with so many weapons and try to capitalize off of him immediately. That's what the Eagles did. That's what the Rams did, the Bengals, and the Chiefs. All these teams have either won a Super Bowl or been to the Super Bowl. And really, the Steelers, they have the recipe just like those teams have. Again, a very young quarterback in Kenny Pickett. You have a very good running back in Najee Harris, and a number of weapons around him. George Pickens, Darnell Washington, Pat Freiermuth, Deontay Johnson. I don't know why I couldn't think about him, but yeah, they have all these weapons. It's just, can he perform at a good level? That is the main question for the Steelers. Can Kenny Pickett, can he perform at a average to good level? If they do that, they are a scary offensive team, and defensively they already got all the pieces. It's just offensively, what can they do? Now, if you ask me, I do see them winning about 10 or 11 games. If they edge out some of, like a Raven game or a Bengal game, maybe 12. But I don't see them winning more than 12. So, 8 to 11 games, maybe 12. Playoff wise, it's kind of hard because it is a loaded AFC. And again, if they can win out, if they get a lucky opponent, or if something crazy happens, like like a third string quarterback or something like that, they can't make a deep playoff run. It's just again, it's like a broken record. How well can Kenny Pickett play? But with all that being said, folks, man, it's going to do it for this video. I just want to talk about the Steelers and pretty much, what they have on the table for this year. How well can they do, and I want to talk about things like that. So if you like the video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, man. We out. Peace.